Hello and welcome to BYJU'S Exam Prep. Welcome to the daily quiz discussion for the 14th of November 2022. Before we begin, a quick reminder that BYJU'S Exam Prep is now on Telegram. Join the group now to get regular current affairs updates. Beginning with the first question of the day. It reads, the 2012 Cape Town Agreement is associated with which of the following aspects? The four options are as follows. Option A, illegal, unreported and unregulated fishing. Option B, illegal trade of wild animals. Option C, pollution abatement in the marine economy. And option D, sustainable management of urban areas. Now, what is the context? This article from today's The Hindu takes note of the increasing incidence of illegal, unreported and unregulated fishing beyond India's exclusive economic zone, mostly in the northern Indian Ocean region. Most of these illegal fishing operations have been attributed to Chinese vessels. This type of fishing leads to the depletion of fish stocks and affects marine ecology. In this context, this article takes note some of the initiatives being taken to regulate this type of fishing. A notable initiative in this direction has been that launched by the Quad nations comprising of India, Australia, Japan and USA in May 2022. This has been launched under the ambit of the Indo-Pacific Maritime Domain Awareness. Under this initiative, all vessel movements would be monitored by the Indian Navy's IMAC in Gurugram and the Information Fusion Center and Indian Ocean region. Also, there are two main regulations globally on IUU fishing, that is, illegal, unreported and unregulated fishing. What are they? They are the Cape Town Agreement and the Agreement on Ports State Measures. Notably, India is not a signatory of either of these agreements. Coming back to the question. From our discussion, it becomes clear that the answer to this question is option A. That is, the 2012 Cape Town Agreement deals with the aspect of illegal, unreported and unregulated fishing. Moving on to the second question. The question reads, which among the following countries is not a member of the East Asian Summit? The four options are as follows. Option A, Russia. Option B, USA. Option C, Papua New Guinea. And option D, New Zealand. Now, what is the context? This article from today's The Indian Express takes note of the Indian Vice President's address at the 17th East Asia Summit. Speaking at the event, the Vice President emphasized the role of the East Asia Summit mechanism in promoting a free, open, and inclusive Indo-Pacific with freedom of navigation and overflight. Notably, this comes in the backdrop of China's rising military actions in the region. Coming back to the question. The answer to this question is C, Papua New Guinea. Note, though it lies in the Indo-Pacific region, Papua New Guinea is not yet a member of the East Asian Summit. However, it is being considered as a candidate for future membership. Russia and USA are the newest members of this summit. The summit also includes countries like China, Australia, and India, among others. Try and find out the other members of the East Asian Summit. Moving on to the third question. It reads, which of the following statements is or are correct with respect to genetically modified crops? There are two question statements given here. The first one reads, among countries with the largest area under genetically modified crop, India stands third behind USA and Brazil. The second statement reads, as of 2022, less than 50 countries have accepted the use of genetically modified crops. Please have a look at the options given. Now, what is the context? This article from today's The Indian Express, authored by agriculture expert Ashok Gulati, argues for the introduction of more GM crops in India. This comes in the backdrop of the government's decision to release India's first genetically modified food crop, Dara mustard hybrid. The article argues that it is time for India to embrace science-based agriculture to ensure farmers' right. The illustrations given in the article note the crop-wise area under biotech crops in different countries. It is very evident from this figure that USA followed by Brazil are the first and second largest countries with crops under biotech crops. Note, India stands fifth according to this infographic, with third and fourth place occupied by Argentina and Canada. Among crops, soybean, maize, and corn are the crops with the highest area under genetically modified crops. You can note in India, genetically modified crop up until now has been only that of cotton. Also note, as of now, more than 70 countries have accepted the use of genetically modified crop. With this understanding, let's get back to our question. From our discussion, it becomes clear that the first and second statement both are wrong. Note, India stands fifth and not third, and also there are more than 70 countries. This is indicative of the increasing acceptance of genetically modified crops. Hence, the answer to this question would be option D, neither 1 nor 2. Moving on to the fourth question. The question reads, consider the following statements about India's international agricultural trade. There are three question statements given here. The first one reads, vegetable oils accounts for the largest proportion among India's agri-import items. Statement 2. Marine products account for the largest proportion among India's agri-export items. Statement 3. India has witnessed a net trade surplus in international agricultural trade in the last decade. Which among the following statements are correct? Please have a look at the options given. Now, what is the context? This article from the explained series of the Indian Express takes an account of India's international agricultural trade. The article notes that though India's agricultural exports have been growing, however, imports have also been growing and worryingly at a much more faster rate. In this context, the article suggests several measures to increase agricultural exports from India in order to ensure a sustainable farm trade surplus. The illustrations give an account of India's agricultural trade over the past decade. Notably, in all these years mentioned here, India has always had a positive farm trade surplus. Also note, among India's top agricultural import items, vegetable oil stands first, and among India's top agri-export items, marine product stands first. Coming back to the question. From our discussion, it becomes clear that all the three statements are correct. Hence, the answer to this question would be option D, 1, 2, and 3. Moving on to the last question of the day. This is a question from the UPSC 2019 Prelims paper. The question reads, consider the following statements. Statement 1. The Parliament Prevention of Disqualification Act 1959 exempts several posts from disqualification on the grounds of Office of Profit. Statement 2. The above mentioned act was amended 5 times. And statement 3. The term Office of Profit is well defined in the Constitution of India. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? Please have a look at the options given. Note, the Office of Profit is mentioned in Article 102 and Article 191 of the Indian Constitution. However, the word Office of Profit has not been defined anywhere. Hence, the third statement is wrong. Now, what do these articles talk about? These articles mention that a person shall be disqualified as a member of parliament or a member of the legislative assembly or legislative council of a state for holding any office of profit under the government of India or the government of any state other than an office declared by parliament by law not to disqualify its holder. And in this context, the Parliament Prevention of Disqualification Act 1959 was passed. This law exempts several posts from disqualification on the grounds of Office of Profit. So statement 1 is correct. Notably, this act was been amended 5 times previously to expand the exempted list. Hence, statement 2 is also correct. The answer to this question would be option A, 1 and 2 only. Please note, even if one was not aware of how many times this act was amended, just by eliminating statement 3, one could have still arrived at the correct answer. Hence, pay attention to all the question statements while answering such questions. Even if one is not aware of one or two statements, just by knowing one statement, you can still arrive at the answer by elimination. Moving on to the fact of the day, ninth schedule of the Indian Constitution. What is the context? This article from today's The Indian Express takes note of the Jharkhand State Assembly passing two bills aimed at increasing reservation in vacant government posts and services to 77% and to use land records with 1932 as the cutoff year to determine domicile status. Notably, these bills passed by the Jharkhand Assembly will be able to come into force only after the centers includes these in the ninth schedule of the Indian Constitution. In this context, let us understand about the ninth schedule. Note, the ninth schedule of the Indian Constitution contains a list of central and state laws that cannot be challenged in courts. That is, such laws are shielded from judicial review. Now let us understand the historical background. This ninth schedule became a part of the Indian Constitution in the year 1951 when it was created by the Article 31B, which along with Article 31A was inserted in the Constitution to protect laws related to agrarian reform and to abolish the zamindari system. Note, while Article 31A extends protection to classes of laws, Article 31B shields specific laws or enactments. This is the basic difference between Article 31A and Article 31B. The schedule was created by the first constitutional amendment. While the first constitutional amendment added 13 laws to the ninth schedule, currently we have around 284 laws under the ninth schedule. Please note, though the ninth schedule provides a safe harbor from judicial review, it does not extend to blanket protection. As per the judgment of the Supreme Court in IR Coelho vs. State of Tamil Nadu case of 2007, laws placed under the ninth schedule can be challenged on the ground of violating the basic structure of the Constitution. Please note, the basic structure test would be applicable to laws inserted into the ninth schedule after 1973. Now, why this cutoff here? Because the doctrine of basic structure came up only in the Keshwananda Bharati case of 1970s. This is all we have for today's discussion. Thank you for being with us.